Well, Joe, thank you for joining us today. You know, it's a privilege to have you as part of the Open We Stand community and engaging with your story. So a little bit of background on Open We Stand, just for the people that are joining us and don't know about the community, is it was started to give kind of a community feel to collaborating, elevating, and keeping businesses forward. So the group consists of small business owners, advisors, advocates, pretty much anybody that wants to collaborate and keep small business where it's going, which is forward. So I appreciate you being with us today. I think your story is incredible. Why don't you go ahead and just introduce yourself, and then Rachel's joining us, so we'll hear from Rachel, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, hi. My name is Joe Schneider, and I live in Tucson, Arizona. I'm assuming there are people from all over. And I had been in the restaurant business. I just celebrated 36 years in February. On March 17th, we have 3 restaurants in the family. Both my sons have restaurants, and all 3 of us shut down on March 17th and have not essentially reopened since. Yeah, that's sort of the long and the short of it.
It's a hard thing to do, so thank you for being here and sharing your story.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Wow, that's tough, Joe.
Well, there's so many of us in this position, right? Restaurants, bars.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that, and we decided not to do takeout because we felt as though if every restaurant attempted to do takeout, we would all fail. And we were lucky enough to get the EIDL and eventually the PPP. So we felt like, all right, we're in better position than a lot of people, and we thought it would be best to shutter our doors. And essentially that's what we are doing. My son tried to open up his restaurant and do to go just to see what it'd be like to be able to pay his employees through the PPP, but it just didn't work. So after a week, he shut down. So now we're just shuttered and trying to figure out when we can reopen, which is, there's just no certainty to that, really. You know, it's 110 here and I'm an outdoor venue. And I just don't see how I could possibly put my people in masks working outside all day long to try to make something work.
That's really hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know you're in a hard place, and I appreciate you sharing your story with us. And I know that there's been a lot of back and forth since the beginning of the year, a lot of communication gaps between the state and the safety of employees and the safety of the community. And I love the fact that you've taken the stance that you want to protect your employees and your community before you decide to gamble for a profit. And I love that. How did you come to that decision?
Well, I think that's sort of an easy one for me. My employees are family to me. Like I said, I've been in the business a very long time, but I have people that have worked with me for a very long time. My sons are the same kind of employers, and we just felt like if we can't keep I think that originally I thought, well, I can keep customers safe, but who I can't keep safe is my employees. And I had a meeting with my employees, and I was like, I am totally willing to do whatever you think is the best thing to do. And they essentially said, we were not ready. And I knew it was too soon anyway. I mean, so I just sort of stay in touch with them. I have a mass email that we send out, and we're attempting, when the unemployment money stopped last week, or 2 weeks ago, essentially, it was really tough on my employees. So we just sent out a letter to everybody. If anybody needs anything, if you need a loan, if you need to pay rent, please just ask us. So everybody right now is in a decent position, and everybody is safe. And I think it's the best decision for us right now. U of A dorms just opened up, and I think there's going to be a backlash from that. And so we're just sort of sitting tight, because opening and closing is just something I don't think I could afford to do.
Well, it's and so I like the fact that you asked your employees. I mean, I come back to the word community all the time, right? You asked your employees what their thoughts were. And that's hard to do as a business owner, because you have your own needs and your own outlook, and your family's got their own needs, their own outlooks with these multiple restaurants you guys own. So I love that you're looking at the community first and kind of reverse engineering what you need to do to continue.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's kind of why I wanted to invite you here today. And it looks like we've got a couple more members here. So if you don't mind, I'd love to have everybody introduce themselves, because
Of course.
we're collaborating as a community. So Rachel, do you want to introduce yourself real quick, and then we'll have Ben introduce himself?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Rachel McCool. I'm from GoDaddy, community manager. I've been doing community management for quite a long time in my career. It's something that I'm personally passionate about, just connecting people. And yes, I work for a corporation, but the people part of it is really what drives me and what I do. And, just really appreciate Adam leading these meetings, setting up, being able to meet you guys, hear your stories. And, going to try to be here for you guys if there's, really anything I can do from not only just the company standpoint, but a personal standpoint, happy to try to help out. God, Joe, I really feel for you. And it's interesting. You talk about living in an area that's like really hot and you have an outdoor venue. I've been thinking for restaurateurs, even for people who are able to have businesses outside right now, like as the weather gets colder, as we get into the fall and we go into winter for, so many climates, they're not going to be able to have their businesses outside. So it's going to be really, really challenging, as we move into the fall and the winter for so many people.
It's nice to meet you, Rachel.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
Thank you. There's somebody else.
Hey, Ben.
Hey, Adam, Joe, Rachel, nice to meet you. My name is Ben Lacoste. I'm a business performance advisor with Insperity here in Columbus, Ohio. Yeah, I saw this webinar. I always like to support wherever we can and maybe learn something. The best thing about my job as a performance advisor is working with small businesses, trying to figure out kind of how to help them run a little bit better. If they're looking to grow, help them grow faster. So at the end of the day, they can make more money. I love being able to hear from different industries, and whether it's in the restaurant business or, I work with all sorts of different industries. So IT companies, et cetera. So it's any way for me to learn and from the real experience of others is always welcome. So thanks for letting me join on.
Thank you.
Yeah, perspective's everything. So Ben, I appreciate your perspective. I mean, you're meeting with business owners just like I am. And I'd love to hear from you in the future on what you're seeing out there, especially with small business and Main Street like restaurants. And support them. One of the things that we've done in my background as risk management is we've had to really dial back some of the expenses because there's no risk right now as far as opening these businesses and restaurants. And it hurts on our bottom line, but it's the right thing to do. And a lot of people just aren't proactively doing that. And I think it's wrong. You should always do what's right when you're moving forward, because at the end of the day, if they don't survive, neither do you. And we have a job because they created these businesses, right? So I appreciate you being here and Rachel and your support and the rest of the community that's going to be watching this. I want to kind of transition, Joe, into the story of when the shutdown occurred, what led you to feeding those who are feeding us? I mean, tell me when that happened, how that happened.
Yeah. So we were told 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock on March 17th that we needed to shut our doors. And it was such a bizarre night, so we shut our doors. I was fully staffed that night. I actually had the busiest, so I've been doing this 36 years, and January, February, and certainly mid-March were the best seasons I'd ever had in my life. And I was, this took us and all of us totally by surprise. So we shut our doors, and my sons, we sat down that night. Everybody sort of came to Cocina. I own this restaurant called La Cocina. It's the largest restaurant of the three of us. And my boys came over and we're all like, what do we do? And the thing we decided to do is we had to help the community. So we personally laid off about 75 people, and that was really painful. And I found myself filing for unemployment for the first time in my life. And So we decided we needed to do something, and the thing that we know how to do is cook. So we closed on Tuesday, and the following Monday, we started feeding people. We did about 80 meals 3 times a week for anyone that needed food. And I just wanted to see how that was going to roll. So we'd open the back door of the kitchen, and we would be masked, and we made meals. We made, and that really changed my viewpoint because it gave me something to do, and it gave me a way to help this community. And it became very successful. We opened up a nonprofit called Feeding Those Who Feed Us, and we joined with a couple of other nonprofit organizations that were feeding people, and people had a way to give back and help. As soon as I closed my doors and announced that I was going to be feeding people, people started sending me money. And I felt really uncomfortable with that. And I felt like it needed to be given to a community source and then passed out to the appropriate people that needed it. So essentially that's what happened. We started a nonprofit, people started donating. And for 3 months, we fed people 3 times a week. It ended up being approximately about 100 meals 3 times a week when we shuttered. In July, when cases got so bad here, I shut down. My staff was burned out. They were scared. We just felt like we needed a break. So we shut for the month of July, and we just reopened in the beginning of August, and we're doing it again 3 days a week. I finally had to start taking some money from the nonprofit because I personally ran out. I had a certain amount of money earmarked for this project. And so that's how we're getting through it. And we're doing meals now, and that feels great. And the community's showing up. And I think they're grateful they have a place to go, just get 3 meals, no questions asked, whatever they need, they just show up, and that's what we're doing. So it's been a really wonderful experience for us.
Wow. I get all teared up when you start talking like that. I think, first of all, thank you. I mean, thank you for just being here today and being an inspiration. I know this is hard for you to just be on here and interview, knowing that it's still uncertain moving forward. There's so much uncertainty in the world. And I think that the confidence you've given people to at least know that you're there, doing what you're doing, feeding those who feed us. I mean, the people that are continuing to struggle and have uncertainty are those in restaurants and bars and tourism. And it's unfortunate because the rest of the world is starting to kind of balance out or trying to get their foothold. And I think what you're doing is impactful. I think it's important. I think that it's amazing and beautiful. And I want to support you any way that I can. And I think the community wants to support you any way they can. So, thank you for that. I shared your links in the chat on here, and I'm going to put it up on the community as well. But I'd love for, if you need anything at all, or you have any brochures or any advertisements or anything you want to put out, definitely let us know, because we'll put it out for you.
I mean, put out for the restaurants, you mean?
Yeah,
or
feeding those who feed us,
Yeah. I don't, and I know it sounds like I'm I want to know that a lot of this was my self-preservation too. When you do what you do for 36 years, and I am a completely neurotic workaholic, as Adam knows, my businesses mean so much. Other than my children and my family and community, my businesses are part of that family and community. I have been community-minded as long as I've been in business, and so I felt like this is part of what I need to do too. Cooking is what we do, and so having my kitchen cooking food and the smells and people showing up and eating, even if they're just taking it to go and getting it for free, has also been, for my family and certainly for me, a way to sort of survive this pandemic, honestly. So it's not all, I'm not an angel. It's survival for me too, I guess. That makes sense?
Hey, Joe, one thought for you is, you're obviously a very humble person, and I love that and admire that. And being somebody who's so dedicated and committed to your business and your family, and I'm guessing, you're a fairly tough person. And I mean that in a really good way. Like,
oh yeah, no, I don't. I take it positively.
Yeah, but I also think what you're doing, feeding people, is really amazing. And, you know, my first thought was like, have you guys started a GoFundMe? Because you should. And you should take whatever people want to throw your way for help, because now is not a normal time. And just, you know, putting aside whatever, you know, however tough you are, it's like, doesn't really matter right now. If people want to help you and give you guys money to either your nonprofit or even for yourselves, you should just take it. And
I know, I know what you're saying, Rachel, and I want
Yeah.
to say that you're certainly not the first person to say that to me. And
Yeah.
you know, every time I sort of think about it, something else happens in this community where somebody needs it more. Do you know what I mean? So it's like I'm doing okay. You know, I have this money here. I just got some money from the nonprofit. People are still donating to the nonprofit, which has been super great. And we have people that are taking produce out to people, where people are delivering groceries. We have a lot going on with this nonprofit, not just about me. And I just don't think I can do that. I hear you, I understand, and you're like probably the 200th person that has said, what is wrong with you? And it's just like, this is just me. You guys know me. This is how I roll. And I can't do the GoFundMe, but I am continuing to put out about the nonprofit, and it is helping lots of people in this community. There's a lot of food insecurities in this community.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing is, when we do the meals, if in case some people don't show up and not as many people show up as we think, there's a homeless shelter right around the block from us, and we just take that food and deliver it right to the homeless shelter. So I hear you. I just can't. Does that make sense?
Do you guys have a website?
We do. We
do have a website.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Have you set up a website for your nonprofit yet?
There is Adam, is there? I don't even.
Yeah. Is it the People's Defense Initiative one?
Yeah, the PDI. Yeah, they sort of took it over. You know, when this happened,
I got it.
I didn't know what to do, right? I mean, this money was coming my way. It was like, wait a minute. Is this income? Is this, you know, because it really wasn't income for me. I'm not open, and I've suspended all services except feeding people. And so I took that money and I put it to the PDI, because they already had a nonprofit set up, and they already were working with people with food insecurities. So I thought, okay, this is the perfect thing. So I segued right over to them, and they took care of the whole nonprofit aspect of it for me. So I didn't have to stress about that. It just seemed overwhelming to me. And they literally, we started this on whatever that Monday is after the 17th, the 24th, I think. And then by 2 days later, the nonprofit was set up. So it was very quick turnaround, surprisingly quick. And it was a great way to funnel money. So that's what we did. And that's what we're still doing.
Yeah, and the website works brilliantly. I mean, if you go on there, on the right side of the page, after it describes what they're doing, on the right side, it just has the donation amounts, or you can just do a custom amount. You can do one time, or you can do a frequency donation. You can remain anonymous. So, and it's pretty easy when you go through it. It just literally just a couple clicks, boom, done. Money's on the way. You're helping people. And I think you created this amazing level of awareness that there's still a need that we all continue to get distracted from in our own lives, balancing life, balancing work, balancing kids, balancing school, balancing owning businesses, you know? So it needs to continue to be a positive push and something that's on our mind. And I love your story, and I love that you're sharing it with us. So thank you.
You know, as soon as we reopened, you know, we only we give away food from 2 to 3 p.m. because it seemed like when we put it out to everybody, that was a good time for everybody. I don't know why. Now it's super hot, and I don't think it's so great, but people are still showing up. But at 2 o'clock, we just have a line, and we just pass out. You know, it's been beautiful, really, and people are so grateful, and it's a wonderful way. Food is love, and that's sort of what we're doing. We're just sort of trying to pass it forward. And so are all the organizations that we're working with have been so incredibly helpful to this community. And we are a service community. Tucson relies on tourism, and we have so many restaurants and so many bars and so many small mom and pop, businesses that, people are starting to shut their doors forever, and it's just incredibly painful to see. And I don't know when it's going to come back, and I don't think it's going to come back the way it was. So we all are trying to sort of figure that out too. My kids, we have essentially 4 restaurants in our family. My daughter-in-law also has a restaurant. So there's 4 of us, and we're trying to figure out, who do we open first? How do we do this? And do we open soon at all? So that's where we're at right now. But no matter what, I'm going to try to continue to feed people as long as I can afford to feed people, and that's what we'll do. We'll still do that work even if we're open.
Have you had any attention from the media?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yes.
So people in Tucson are aware of what's going on?
No question about it. No question about it. And
Yeah.
almost too much attention at one point, it was almost like it became where I'm not real comfortable being in the spotlight. But yes, we were in the newspaper. We've been on TV several times. And there was a group of people that started a Too Soon Arizona movement, because we just felt like our governor was just opening things up, and it was just too soon. It was like, please, it's going to hurt all of us. So we did, we have been involved in some things. So there was a lot of media attention the first couple of months. And I'm sort of grateful in a lot of ways that has stopped, because it started becoming politicized. And that was really unfortunate.
Yeah.
So I did do an interview last week or 2 weeks ago with the local news, because I wanted to get the story back out that we were feeding. But that's the last one I've done. And I've said no to several of them, just because I could see the direction they were trying to take it. And I don't want to be involved in the politics of it.
Yeah. Good for you. That's great. That's again, standing your ground on what you believe and, what you're about is really important right now, I think. So,
I think you have to, right? I mean, we're sort of at this crucial point in our lives where everything I did and everything I knew about is no longer, and I have to recreate and rethink what I'm going to do for my future and my family's future and my community's future. And so that's what I'm focusing on. And the media attention started getting in the way. And so, and I wasn't comfortable. So I backed off.
My wife and I had a very similar conversation this morning, and it's just amazing that you said it exactly how you stated it. Reinvention, reintention, figuring out where you're going, because business for us has looked 180 degrees different than it was, in March. So,
yeah.
I mean, I love being out in the energy, in the environment with business owners, and it's so hard to reach across the screen and let people know that you're there genuinely to advocate for them and enjoy what they're bringing to the table. I mean, you and I have been working together for a long time, and
10 years.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool, you guys. It's awesome that you have that relationship.
And he takes good care of me. And, and the thing is what he said, I suspended my liquor license. I had no business. It's like, why am I paying? I called the city of Tucson. I was like, I'm going to suspend my license. I'm not going to give you my licensing fee for the month of June, July, and August. I'm closed. And I need to hang on to every penny that I have for my employees, for myself, for my family. So I did, and with Adam's help, did a lot of things to not impact me, change the impact financially as much as I possibly could. I'm a music venue, so I had to call all the BMI and CSAC and say, hey, I am not paying for this licensing right now. You need to suspend my license. I have nothing going on. And I know that the domino effect of that is so great, but that's where I'm being selfish. That's what I'm trying to do, is hang on to what I'm trying to do and keep my community, keep this community venue going. So
yeah, I don't look at that as selfishness at all. I look at that as survival. You got to do what's best for you. And, always in life, if you don't take care of yourself first, you can't take care of others.
Yeah.
And I think, full disclosure, I watch Restaurant Impossible, which I don't know how much of it is real, but I think, people who work in restaurants, they work their asses off, right?
They really
and
do.
It's like, you've been in business for years, and You know, sometimes I'm sure that you guys get so burned out by the hours you work and stuff. And it's like, if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of your employees.
Right.
And it's certainly for what you're trying to do right now, you can't help other people. It's not.
But you see the impact, you see the domino effect of, you know,
Yeah,
my rag
sure.
guy, my produce guy, my fish guy, you know, all the people that I have supported over all these years, the impact of them, you know, and it's the domino effect is so huge that it is sort of overwhelming. And those of us in the restaurant business, you know, it's a labor of love.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a get rich quick venture at all. It is a passion, and not to be able to move forward with your passion and have those, you know, that, you know, I used to have an hour and a half wait for tables, and, you know, it was so exciting to bring people in and to serve people, and all of that is gone. And I don't really know what that's going to look like when we reopen, though we are coming up with some plans. So I have a tentative opening date of September 20th. Just one restaurant at a time. We're going to take it one at a time is how we're going to handle it. And because I'm outdoors, we think that that's the first place to start. But
well, that's amazing. I was, as you were talking, I was just thinking about how can you guys capture what you do like online? Are there products that you can capture somehow that is in connection with your businesses, and sell them to people? And I was just thinking, I have a friend that works for a company in Texas, El Paso, and they sell all sorts of sauces and spices and things like that. So I don't know.
Well, we have definitely talked about that, because there are some dressings and some sauces and some things that we do that I think we could bottle, and we have talked about that. You know, the other aspect of this is I also have I run and manage a complex that has 6 individual shop owners. So La Cocina restaurant is a courtyard restaurant surrounded by shops, and all the shops have been closed since March, and trying to figure out how to help them and keep them going, and with the rest, you know, so it's been very complicated in a lot of ways. And the only thing that I've been able to do is I stopped rent for my tenants in April, and they still have not paid rent. So they're going to start paying in September, a reduced rate. But I did my best to stop rent for people that were closed. I just felt like, how can you charge people? How can you? So there's so many levels to all of this that it's not just me, it's this complex, it's all these other business owners, and there's a lot going on at Cocina, and it's called Old Town Artisans, that is historic and beautiful, and we survived on not only locals but tourism, and that certainly is gone. So
yeah, can relate. Living in I live in San Francisco, and so like, you know, our entire tourist industry they're actually saying worse than World War II, which is pretty amazing.
Hard to believe, isn't it?
Yeah, and then out here where you guys have probably seen, we're getting hit by these massive fires again.
Yeah.
8 out of the 9 Bay Area counties have fires going on right now, which is really pretty mind-blowing. I mean, we've had fire issues obviously in the last like 3-4 years that have been pretty devastating, but this is pretty unprecedented to have so many happening at the same time. So, well, you guys, I got to jump off. Joe, I popped my email address in there.
Okay, thanks.
You know, please ping me if there's anything I can do to help. You know,
thank you.
We're not only a build and manage website company. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff now that we're offering, like, you know, marketing help or anything like that. And you know, I will extend to you that if there's anything that I can do to help your business, I will get some colleagues to help you out. So think about that.
Okay, I absolutely will, because like I am a little lost, to be honest with you. We all are a little bit.
Sure.
So yes, I will, as it gets closer and as we figure out when we're opening, I will certainly take your information and be happy to reach out. I really will.
Sounds good. All right, you guys take care. Adam, thank you so much. Ben, nice meeting you, and have a good rest of the day.
Thank you so much, Rachel.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your story. Ben, did you have anything you wanted to ask or share, or anything before we let Joe go?
Yeah, I guess I was just kind of curious. Any cool things that you have learned or stuff that you were surprised by? I mean, besides just, people, I'm sure that you're blown away by people's generosity and wanting to help. And, obviously the media exposure was probably a little, surprising, overwhelming, it sounds like, and to a certain extent, you're kind of over that. But I was curious if there's anything about just the whole thing that was, you're looking back, you're like, I would have never guessed it. I would have learned this, either about humanity or about how, what this whole thing looked like for you.
Well, yeah, it's a good question, because I think at least it draws something positive from all of this. And I will say, first of all, just the connection and just how really strong a community is when there's something going on. And it wasn't that I was surprised, maybe wasn't the word, but so grateful that I lived in a place that did exactly what they were supposed to do and showed up for everybody. And wasn't, I didn't feel isolated. I never felt, I don't think we felt like we were alone. I felt like we did have community support, and that we did have people that said to us, no matter what, we will be there when you open, and we're going to support you. And I think just knowing that people really do rally behind you when things like this happen, and instead of feeling afraid and isolated themselves, people came together. And even though in your mind, that's how Tucson, at least that's how Tucson has always felt for me, it was really overwhelming, the connection that people were willing to provide. And I do think it has given us all a chance to connect with people that we never would have connected with, like you. You know what I mean? It's like, I do think I was a 7-day work. I worked 7 days a week, almost all hours. I was so obsessed with working for 36 years, by the way. And my kids probably had no choice but to be in the business, because that's where they grew up and that's all they knew. So I think, my family, of course, is all the restaurant business, because like they said, it's all we saw, Mom. If we weren't on the baseball field, we were in the restaurant working. And so I taking time and slowing down and sort of connecting and realizing that there's things that I can be doing and helping people in ways that I can, and the community can, and vice versa, I guess, has been sort of mind-blowing, really. Wow. So I do think there has been some positives to this very, very, very difficult time, and that I think if people stick together, a lot more can get accomplished. And that's sort of what I have been feeling, that and been blessed with. So.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, it's I would say just kind of what I've seen in different communities and talking with different people. It's been I've seen a lot of ingenuity that has come out of this. I've seen organizations completely changing what they're doing for the purpose of, yes, it can bring in revenue when their main widget isn't being purchased, but now they can sell PPE or whatever, they these various forms and functions of PPE they happen to be able to utilize because they make textiles, and now they can make masks or whatever. So there's some of that, but also just seeing people with essentially forced time on their hands, figuring, hey, I've got some skills, I've got some abilities, I've got assets that I can utilize to help those around us. And I think what we're seeing is a greater sense of community, even in those cities. Columbus is a great city, but also you have the people who have moved in, and there's the original folks, and there's the new folks, and that can sometimes seem that there's two lines there. Right. But it's funny how quickly those lines get blended when in times of challenge. So that's awesome to see it's happening in Tucson as well.
No question about it. I think that there may be divisiveness in the world or in our country, certainly, but I do think people do come together to help each other. I do believe in the power of community, and I certainly have been a witness to it, and I certainly feel like I've benefited from it without question. So, awesome. Yeah, I feel, I do every day. I just try to be productive and positive. I think that's the only way to get through this. And Yeah, we're getting through it.
Well, if it's any consolation, if you will, in terms of the reopening, when that does happen, I have a couple very good friends who own bars, restaurants here in Ohio, and they have reopened, and they've all snapped back into place very quickly. And even though they're indoor venues, so if that gives you any consolation, that people, the demand is still there, and people have been cooped up quite a bit, and they still want their favorite place to go to. So
yeah, I don't think there's any question. Yeah, I agree. But how do you do that? And how, there's just so much, but we're thinking about it. We are coming up with a game plan, and we're going to see what happens after the University of Arizona opens, to see what what's that going to do, right? I'm sure the same thing is happening in Columbus. Things are starting to open up more and more. I actually have a lot of family in Columbus, Ohio. So I do. So, we're just sort of sitting back and seeing where it's all going to shake out before I spend the money to bring people back, to get them off unemployment, to try to reopen so until this weather becomes, manageable, I'm not doing anything. We have the hottest summer we've ever had. So, so I do have faith. I really do. I think the community has always been, 36 years. So I do feel like there is a community that has supported me since the day I opened my first restaurant. But it's more about the biggest picture. How can I hold on to the money that I have to make sure that I can hang on to this place for longevity's sake? So, I don't know. It's confusing. But I'm optimistic-ish.
I like it. I think at the end of the day, everybody thinks this is just a marathon, but one of the things I've seen is it's more of a marathon while playing Jenga, hopscotch, and dominoes all at the same time.
Yeah, at the same time, yeah.
You got this balancing act, this push forward. How is it going to impact? There's just too many things going on. So I really appreciate you for what you're doing, Joe, because
thank you.
In the world of confidence and stress is such a catalyst to friction. You've allowed people to have confidence that they can find food and find confidence in their community moving forward. And I just love that, because family's always got to come first, right? We want the family to survive.
Yes.
And what you're doing is meaningful and amazing. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much. It was nice to meet you, Ben. Really well.
Yeah, it was great meeting you guys. I appreciate it.